I just want to thank everybody else who went. I feel like you all, or some of you in particular, are extremely articulate about what it was that you were doing, and I don't know that I'm necessarily going to be that guy. But I did want to share with you the course that I've been working on over the past year, which is the Foundations of Inclusion class. And I think the class itself comes from the idea that, obviously, recognizing that you're all teachers, one of the most difficult or challenging parts of being a teacher is finding a student who you can't reach. Or one of the most frustrating parts of being a teacher is not being able to support or help a student to achieve. And so we have a class in our Associate Arts and Teaching program, Foundations of Inclusion, which kind of attempts to address, or the way I've designed the course attempts to address those students who have traditionally struggled in our classrooms, which would be students from low income or poverty situations, students from other cultures outside of the sort of establishment mainstream culture, or I don't know. It's difficult when talking about inclusion. A lot of the words like disability, difference, disorder, those things have a lot of loaded meaning. So I'm going to use some words that may not necessarily fit that description, but or will fit that description. Our students are coming to this classroom in hopes of becoming, our students are those people who will become the future educators, teachers, EAs, paraprofessionals in the classroom working with these students who have challenges. Recognizing a number of our students are going to be teaching in the leeward communities where we do have a number of high poverty, where we do have higher immigrant populations. And so I designed this project, which goes over the sort of last 7 weeks of the class, to address the diversity that's within our school system. The authenticity part of it comes from my experience in the classroom. When I got to my first teaching job, I was in a community that had 95% single mothers. I was in a school that had 35% special needs or children with IEPs. And I didn't really have the training, to work with all these multiple disabilities that were in my classroom, whether it was, MR, mental retardation, developmental delay, LD students, ED students, and just a range. And so I had to seek out information or seek out knowledge from other professionals who knew how to work with these individuals. The training that we receive at colleges of education hasn't necessarily provided us with those skills. And so you really have to think on your feet. And so I think it was very authentic because it was coming from me. I think this is where I'm being very articulate is what we're doing. But anyway, essentially there's a problem. The students are asked to design a scenario in which they're identifying a student in their classroom who's struggling. From there, they're going to have to contact some professionals in the field. They're going to have to do review some current research on that particular student population, and then create a plan for some baseline strategies for working with that student. And then on top of that, they're going to be sharing it across with all the other future teachers that are in their classroom. I broke it down to a number of different stages. First, and it's kind of similar to somebody did redesign their. I think it was someone had designed their course. Anyway, I'll leave it. I call it 10 simple steps to supporting a struggling student. And so they're generally going to have to generate a list of challenges that particular student faced. They're going to have to define what the problem is that struggling student is having. And then they're going to have to go out and find people who have worked with this particular student population. And that could be caregivers, parents, could be students themselves. It could be other special education teachers in that school. It could be service providers, advocates, or anybody, any number of professionals that are working with those particular students. Then they're going to have to go into research mode and go to the library or research online, find some academic articles that they're going to review, and they're going to compare what they experience or the experiences of those service providers and practitioners against what they find in the research. Because oftentimes I think many of us, any of us who went to colleges of education, find that theory and research is very different than what we find in the classroom. And so I'm asking them to sort of analyze the differences that they're finding there. I think, but the whole idea is about practice, is about synthesizing the information that they're finding from these different people and presenting it in such a way that all of the future teachers in the classroom will have some baseline knowledge for working with the range of diversity that's in the classroom. What else do I want to say about that? I think that's really, I mean, I'll show you guys a couple of examples. I do have a number of I did break my rubrics down into the individual parts. I thought that was an important part of the process. And so I do have a couple of sample presentations. Here's one example from a student who did a report on students with Asperger's syndrome.
First recognized by Leo Kanner in 1943 and then by Hans Asperger in 1944 and again in 1981 by Lorna Wing. However, it was not officially recognized until 1994 in the most recent Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of the American Psychiatric Association.
And so that's just an example of how students are presenting the knowledge. Essentially, you know, what is the student population they're working with? What is the research? What are people saying about it? Service providers, caregivers, etc. What does the research say? And then what can we do as future teachers in the classroom? I mean, the end product can be a number of different things. It could be a public service announcement. It could be a lesson or accommodation plan for a particular student in the classroom. It could be what one student did. I'm not sure where am I supposed to be here? What one student did was wrote a public service announcement with her brother, actually, who has cerebral palsy. And she did a public service announcement about who her brother is and how he works and how his brain works and how he wants to be taught and what he's capable of, etc. So that's just a couple of examples of the finished product.